toes.
So the only thing you have to do during this test is you have to just lie down flat, very still and very quiet while I'm going through the blood pressures. So that's really about it, and it should take about 10 minutes or so.
Okay.
Okay. Are you okay with laying flat?
Yes, I am.
You don't feel dizzy or anything like that?
I would definitely add a few more minutes, depending on the patient, if they've got a lot of edema or
two sizes of cups
difficulty
here, and I'm
laying
just going to
flat.
take kind of a quick measurement of your arm, because what we want it to do is we want it to be about 10% wider than the diameter of your arm. You're going to see me jotting down a few notes as I go through, so don't worry about that. I'm just
fast
marking
forward,
down
because you
the
can feel
values
free
of your
to look
blood
at this
pressure
video
and
as much as you want
how
to
I
on
hear
your own.
your
This is located in the resources area
how I
of
hear
the
your
Blackboard
arterial
course.
waveforms.
So I'm just making sure all of the equipment is on before
I'm just going to put this toe cuff on.
I officially kind of start gathering
But
my
you've never had
data.
blood pressure on your toe before, have you?
No, not at all. That looks kind of cute, doesn't it?
Most people say that. All right, so I'll just put my papers here. Okay, so I'll start with your right arm. I'm just going to hook you up to the sphygmomanometer here, and you can just rest your arm down, just relax.
Okay, so I just want to talk a little bit about the functionality of this machine here. So I'm just going to grab it out of my bag. Now, what I've got there is the continuous wave transducer, and so that's what I'm holding in my hand. Now, on this particular machine, and I don't work for this company, but I just happen to like it. Now, what I've done is I've chosen this piece of equipment based on my preference for the sensitivity and the usability of it, and of course the portability. Now, excuse me just a moment, I'm just going to pause this. Pause, I'm back. So anyway, with this piece of equipment, I happen to know that, just from experience, that it's a good piece of equipment. It's very reliable and very user-friendly. So, and they keep it extremely simple for us. Almost a little too simple. There are advantages and disadvantages to its simplicity. But just to go over the general operation of it, this piece can just simply insert into here, and there's usually a little marker on there that lines up with the arrow, and it's kind of stiff if you're using this. Now on the bottom here, it does give you the capability for headphones. I recommend headphones, but just make sure that you don't hurt your ears by, you have to keep a tight control over your volume because sometimes it can just crackle and really hurt your ears. Now this has a cover on it, and that's to protect that matching layer at the very end of the transducer. And this transducer happens to be an 8 megahertz transducer. There are usually two transducers that are available to you. There's one that is an 8 megahertz transducer, and that's for more superficial structures. And there's a 5 megahertz transducer for more deeper structures. Now, what that means is you would probably choose an 8 megahertz transducer for a person who's got a slimmer body habitus and someone where their vessels are going to be laying deeper in their body. You would want an 8 megahertz a 5 megahertz transducer. So 8 is for more superficial and 5 is for deeper. So for example, if you've got a patient that you're having a very hard time hearing their Doppler samples in very edematous legs, you may want to change over to a 5 megahertz transducer. If you are purchasing this equipment and you only have enough money to purchase one type of transducer, 1 megahertz transducer, I would go with the 8 megahertz transducer just because it seems to be a little more universal with finding flow, arterial flow in the arm and at the ankle and foot. So that's what I would do. Now to operate it, it keeps getting tangled up. Sorry about that. It's my pet peeve when these wires get all tangled up like this. Okay, so to operate this transducer, you take the lid off, And this is a little button right on the transducer that's just an on-off. So you would just press it on, and then you'll see that the LCD display will start to light up. The next thing you have to operate is the volume control, and so it's a very simple kind of operation. Now the disadvantage to this simplicity is that this piece of equipment does quite a few adjustments for you, and the reason why that's a disadvantage is because you don't have control over how big you want your waveform, which is the scale, or how strong a signal that you're getting, which is the gain. So you have to let this equipment do its work, and it requires a little bit of patience, because to give you a really good signal, it takes about 1 or 2 passes across this LCD display in order to give you what it is that's a strong signal. That's especially true for the PPG readings, not so much with this Doppler because it does have quite a bit of power in it. So, usually you can get an accurate waveform display as well as audio, the audio display as well. Can't talk, I'm sorry. This is the 3rd time I'm delivering this class, so getting a bit edgy. So also you'll notice on this display that you have a waveform, and the waveform represents the different velocities throughout the cardiac cycle. So it's going to spike up during systole, and that's because there's a surge of pressure pushing the blood forward in the body, and so therefore blood moves faster in systole, and then it decelerates in diastole. So this gives you actually a baseline where you can see forward flow, and then in triphasic waveforms you'll see a little bit of reverse flow, and that's perfectly normal. Monophasic flow is all in one direction. Usually that's all above the baseline, and that's what makes it monophasic. You may see numbers on there, and it's trying to measure the precise blood flow, but there's no real way of making that a reliable measurement, because you have to, the Doppler formula is reliant completely on the angle of your transducer to flow. So just to talk about angle for just a moment, it's really, really important that you monitor your Doppler angle. So this is your angle. It's the angle of the Doppler to the patient in relation to the blood flow. So imagine the blood flow is coming toward the transducer like this, the arterial blood flow. Of course, the venous blood flow is going away from the transducer. So this is how you would want to angle it. You want to angle it toward flow. That'll give you the most accurate result. And when I talk about accuracy, it's accuracy more in a quantitative type of way. You've got to think of this technical examination as both the combination of qualitative and quantitative results. The quantitative being you are getting a blood pressure and a number, and you're making a division and a ratio and things like that. That does give you a quantitative result, but it is the combination of the qualitative analysis and the quantitative analysis that gives you the full picture. So the qualitative analysis is your objective opinion and interpretation analysis of the Doppler audio output. So you do need to make sure that you've got an accurate angle, or you won't get an accurate assessment. If you have a degree of 90 degrees, that's of your Doppler to flow, that would look like this, but also you're going to get the most inaccurate results, because the degree of error exponentially increases as your angle to flow goes beyond 60 degrees. So this being, 0 being completely, parallel to flow like this, and 90 degrees being perpendicular to flow like this, 30 degrees is kind of right in the middle, if you can estimate that. The other really crucial thing with obtaining your Doppler angle is making sure that you are really anchored well against your patient. And this is the kind of thing, when you return your video to me or you do a demonstration, I'm really going to be looking for how you position yourself on the patient. I really want to see good ergonomics and good anchoring of the Doppler against your patient. This will give you a highly inaccurate type of result, and it will cause a whole lot of frustration if you're not well anchored, because you're just going to fall off the artery. And by that I mean, you're centered on the arterial flow. You've got a really good signal. You go to inflate your blood pressure cuff, and you move just the tiniest little bit, and all of a sudden your sound wave is not even on the artery anymore, so you're not picking up a signal, or you might be just picking up the edge of the artery, which gives you a very damped, poor signal. So that's the kind of thing I am looking for on your video when you produce your assignment. So that's I think that's about it with this Doppler, and I just want to show you the PPG. So to use the PPG, you do have to have a piece of equipment with an LCD display. Doppler, we're very lucky because we have two ways of interpreting the analysis. One way is to hear it, and another way is to see it, because it produces a waveform. But with the PPG, you only have really one way of interpreting, and that's through visual. Because it's a light energy that's being used to interpret the blood flow, it doesn't give us an audio output. And so you absolutely have to have this LCD display. If you have equipment that without this, then you really actually can't use a PPG. And you would have to use other methods to measure the blood pressure of the toe. Other things you could use is a strain gauge. And I've heard of some people using Doppler, but I'm really not sure how that can work. And I've never had success with that. So I would need to talk to those people and find out how they're doing that. But I can't see the logic in how that works. But so this is seems to be a mainstay in most places as far as measuring the toe pressure, or the toe pulse, so that you can get the toe blood pressure. So when it works the same way as the continuous wave Doppler, where you have basically an on-off button right here, and this is attached to the patient's foot using just a bit of tape, as you can see in this video. I do have to say this: make sure that the Velcro is facing outward, and that this flat area with the diodes are actually approximated to the patient's toe. And yes, I do actually have to say that. So okay, so I'm just going to continue on with the video.
Okay, I'm just going to sit on the bed just so I'm a little bit more comfortable, if that's okay. Now turn your palm up. Good.
Now I know this seems a little up close and personal just to sit on the patient's bed like that, but it's part of the of good ergonomics on your part, just to make sure that you're well anchored over the artery. It increases the accuracy of your exam. And this is a home care kind of situation. In the hospital, you'll have more options to maybe move around the patient. But what I tend to do is center myself on one side of the patient, and then I'll do both sides just by reaching over this way, and for the left arm, and then for the right arm, it's right next to me, and then I'll just move down toward the feet in the same kind of way. Now in this video, you're going to see another mistake coming up as far as the ergonomics, so let's see if you can pick that out. Okay, so just I wanted you to note here that